Normally, I would begin my reviews while injecting some humor, but the subject matter of this film is no laughing matter. Gay conversion therapy is nonsensical, putrid, and utterly inhumane. Anyone who supports it has zero respect from me. On that note of my cold open being so grim, I'll try to lighten things up a bit by doing my normal shtick. What is up, everybody? Random Man here, bringing you my review for The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Based on the novel of the same name, written by Emily Danforth, the plot basically follows our title character herself, Cameron Post, played by Chloe Grace Moretz. Cameron is a high schooler who gets caught having sex with her girlfriend while at their homecoming dance. In response, Cameron's religious aunt sends Cameron to a remote gay conversion therapy camp to cure her of her so-called sinful mentality. Going into this movie, I had quite a bit of hype to see it. This became one of my most anticipated movies of 2018 after it premiered at, say it with me now, the Sundance Film Festival back in January. Yes, this is yet another movie from that festival that got a bunch of buzz there, but I'm not just talking regular buzz from that festival. This movie ended up winning the Grand Jury Prize for U.S. Drama, the festival's highest honor, which skyrocketed my interest even more on top of the cast and concept. Starting out with the cast and their performances, we have Chloe Grace Moretz, of course, in the title role of Cameron Post. Moretz is a young actress that I've admired and followed closely with her career for about a few years now, and we all know and love her as Hit Girl from Kick-Ass 8 years ago. But she's had quite the tenured filmography for someone so young and still early in their film career. We're both the same age, actually. We're both 21 years old. I'm gonna make some of you jealous right now, too, as I've actually met Moretz 4 years ago while she was promoting her film If I Stay. Yeah, look at that cutie right there. I'm talking about me. But anyway, yeah, Moretz is an actress who has been slowly on the rise as of late. I haven't seen her in a movie for the past 2 years, actually. Last thing I saw her in was Neighbors 2, which I personally liked over the original. But seeing her in The Miseducation of Cameron Post, I think this is her most mature, her most layered, and all-around best performance I've seen her give to date. This is a performance that is the definition of subtle. Cameron as a character was someone I found to be so sympathetic and was clearly going through a bunch of turmoil even if she didn't express it verbally. A lot of times it was internal and clear from her facial expressions, and the all-around extension of Moretz giving a bunch of genuity to Cameron made her so compelling. The supporting players I think are up to snuff with Moretz and her performance here. We have John Gallagher Jr. as one of the reverends and heads of this gay conversion therapy camp, and he plays a character that's similar to the character he played in Short Term 12. Fantastic drama, except with more ulterior motives and something really more grimy attached to that in trying to get the gay out of these campers who are there. And I think that he gives one of his best performances to date as well. Sasha Lane, whose breakout performance in American Honey impressed me so much, plays one of the fellow campers to Cameron here. Her character's name is actually Jane Fonda, like the actress. There's a joke made about that in the movie as well. And while she doesn't get that much to do here, her screen presence was very much welcome and I think added on to the all-around absorbing nature that this movie had. Same thing with Forrest Goodluck and his character. You may remember him as the son of Leonardo DiCaprio's character in The Revenant, and I thought he was also terrific in this film. I've also got to give a shout out to Emily Skeggs as the roommate to Cameron Post. Her character devoutly believes in the mission that this camp is doing in trying to rid the homosexuality out of the campers in there, and her character could have easily come off as annoying, but I thought she was effective in representing the brainwashing that these camps in real life do. Finally, there's Jennifer Ale, I believe that's how her last name is pronounced, I apologize if I butchered that, as the doctor slash superhead slash sister to John Gallagher Jr.'s character, and talk about unlikable as a character. Effectively so, though. I thought she was great in just subtly being such a bitch and wholly morally unethical. She reminded me in some ways of Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter series, as I just wanted to reach into the screen and freaking punch her in the face for just encouraging a bunch of self-hate on these campers, including Cameron Post. So all in all, with the performances here, I thought that everybody, but specifically Chloe Grace Moretz as the title role, give some tremendous performances here. The writing here in how this movie approaches its concept and themes doesn't beat around the bush or sugarcoat things. This movie is co-written and directed by Desiree Akhavan, whose prior work to Cameron Post I haven't seen, but from this movie I can tell that she makes things pretty blunt and clear as to what she is trying to say. When we see Cameron Post herself get caught having sex with her girlfriend and then she gets sent to this gay conversion therapy camp, we pretty clearly get to see how much this movie is played to realism. I mean, going into this movie, I expected a certain amount of seriousness and drama to be had with a story like this that has to do with people from the LGBTQ+ community getting spited and hated on just for their sexual orientations. This is also coming from someone who has never read the book that this movie is based on. One of the things that struck me the most about this film, and how it is all around approached and directed, is its subtlety. I've already mentioned how subtle Moretz's performance is as Cameron Post, but the reserved nature that this movie has, and also with its taut flow in the narrative being told, it had such an alluring atmosphere around it that it backed up the true realism that this movie had. In that regard, this movie reminded me quite a bit of Short Term 12. I've already mentioned this movie earlier for the fact that John Gallagher Jr. is in both this and The Miseducation of Cameron Post, but another similarity to Short Term 12 that Cameron Post has is the amount of humor in it. That in particular struck me on a notable level because I didn't expect Cameron Post to have as much humor as it did. Ultimately, in a lot of cases, some movies, even if they're very serious, need some humor to keep the pacing moving along. But wow, this is a funny movie in some areas. While balancing out its tone, it wasn't uneven in any sense to me, to where the humor outweighed the drama or vice versa. So that was a great thing to. When the movie gets dramatic though, it gets pretty dramatic, especially during this one sequence that has to do with one character who I will not give away, going through a meltdown / episode of sorts, and that moment in time is intercut with footage of what happens after that point in the story, and by the end of that, it got to me to a striking level, and it backs up the themes that this movie has in it being so relevant to what is going on today. To my knowledge, only about a dozen or so states in the US have outlawed gay conversion therapy camps, including my own. I currently live in Illinois, so I'm happy that has happened, but at the same time, there are about a few dozen or so more states that still haven't outlawed gay conversion therapy. And as I've mentioned in the intro, I think it's total and utter BS that this is a thing, and watching what is happening in the movie, specifically in Cameron Post's perspective and point of view, really backs up this sentiment to me. We also get a bunch of flashbacks of her being with her girlfriend back at home, and also seeing the inner struggle that she is having and all the pressure being put on her and the other teens at this camp. It's truly abhorrent, the actions that are taking place at places like these. Aside from this movie being undeniably timely, I have to give shout outs to some of the technical merits here, as I felt that they aided in making this movie powerful to me. The cinematography of this film I found to be gorgeous. The look of this movie, I forgot to mention this earlier, it takes place in the early 1990s, just like the book this movie's based on. So it looking like a movie from that era, it was pretty accurate to what I saw there. I mean, no modern technology, no social media, no smartphones, none of that stuff. So that's a plus for sure. Also, the color palette of this movie. It's mostly dreary in its look and design, but there are some bursts of bright colors in between here to reflect the tone of this movie, having some bursts of enlightenment as well. The movie is also well stringed together with its editing from scene to scene, and overall with its pacing. This movie is pretty short. It is about 90 minutes long, so around an hour and a half, less if you exclude the end credits. So one could say that this is a pretty quick watch, but at the same time, I never felt it be too rushed or drag on at any point. It felt just right. One thing I'll say I wish this movie did towards the end was reveal some more of how much the vitriolic vial of these gay conversion therapy camps have taken a toll on people either in the story or in real life. But yeah, I cannot stress enough how much these gay conversion therapy camps piss me off. The ending of this film I found far from bad. In fact, it is pretty fitting for what this narrative called for, as not much else is really gonna be known with how fast these kind of camps are gonna stay active or be shut down anytime soon. So in that sense, the ending of going into the unknown really does fit to me. I just wish that there was a little bit more to be shown with just how overall negative these kinds of camps are. However, my quibble there could be asking too much for a movie that is played so subtly throughout that it still exuded such a visceral response from me internally, and how just all around moved I was by this film. It's just a further testament of all of the amazing things that this movie did. I can tell this movie is going to have a profound effect on those that belong to the LGBTQ+ community, because it's going to be so relevant for them, also to anyone else who watches this that feels the same sentiment as me. I personally identify as straight, yet I was so invested with what I was seeing and feel the need to tell more people about this film and also spread the word to shut down gay conversion therapy camps. Speaking of getting the word out more about this film, I hope that The Miseducation of Cameron Post reaches a wider audience, or as wide of an audience as possible, because another film from earlier this year that dealt with LGBTQ+ themes, Love, Simon, I personally loved, and I felt most people liked as well, but it underwhelmed at the box office, and that was heartbreaking to me because this is the first movie from a major studio that had a gay protagonist and a gay romance. And with The Miseducation of Cameron Post, I think similar attributes apply there as well, but in a more serious sense, because Love, Simon played out more like a John Hughes style coming of age film. So in contrast, The Miseducation of Cameron Post plays out more like a serious coming of age film of sorts, and it's something that I think is truly necessary for everyone to watch. I mean, I was waiting to see this movie for quite a while. It originally opened 2 weeks ago in just 2 theaters in New York, and it's finally come to my area. It just opened in a few theaters near where I live, though. I live in a suburb near Chicago, Illinois, and I'm like, ugh, I've been waiting to see this movie for a little bit now, even longer if you want to count my hype from Sundance back in January. Regardless of what money Love, Simon made, it became one of my favorite movies of the year so far for all of what I loved about it, and you can tell where I'm going with this. The Miseducation of Cameron Post is one of my favorite movies of 2018 as well. I hope more people spread the word to see this film once they have seen it, as I feel there's a lot of greatness within it. Small independent films like these need our support, and they live and die on word of mouth. I love this movie. I highly recommend it. My final verdict for The Miseducation of Cameron Post is 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.